The courtroom in downtown Manhattan buzzed with the kind of tension that could shatter glass. Mark Rivera stood there, his hands trembling slightly as he faced the judge, but his eyes burned with a fire that had been smoldering for 5 long years. He wasn't just fighting for custody anymore. He was about to drop a bombshell that would rip through the life of his ex-husband, tech mogul Ethan Hargrove, exposing secrets that could topple an empire. It all started in the glittering heights of New York City's elite circles, where Ethan and Mark had once been the power couple everyone whispered about. Ethan, the self-made billionaire behind Hargrove Tech, had swept Mark off his feet during a charity gala in 2015. Mark, a promising architect from a modest Brooklyn family, had been dazzled by Ethan's charisma, his sharp intellect, and the way he commanded a room without effort. Their romance was whirlwind. Stolen kisses in penthouse elevators, weekends in the Hamptons, and a proposal under the stars on a private yacht. They married in a lavish ceremony in 2017, surrounded by celebrities and business tycoons, becoming one of the first high-profile same-sex couples to adopt through surrogacy. The triplets, Lila, Max, and Theo, arrived in 2018, bundles of joy that filled their Upper East Side mansion with laughter and chaos. But beneath the polished facade, cracks began to form. Ethan's work consumed him. Board meetings stretched into nights. International trips left Mark alone with the babies. At first, Mark chalked it up to ambition. Ethan was building a legacy for their family, after all. Yet, subtle shifts unnerved him. Ethan's growing discomfort at public events where their marriage was highlighted, his insistence on keeping family photos off social media, and the way he flinched when reporters asked about their modern family. Mark tried to talk about it, but Ethan would brush him off with a charming smile and promises of more time together. "It's just business, love," he'd say, pulling Mark into a hug that felt increasingly hollow. The breaking point came one rainy evening in 2020. Mark had just put the triplets down for the night when he overheard Ethan on a call in his study. "I can't keep this up," Ethan whispered harshly. "The board is conservative. They think my lifestyle is a liability. We need to pivot, make me look more traditional." Mark's heart sank. He confronted Ethan that night, demanding answers. Ethan confessed. His investors were pressuring him to normalize his image. "It's not about us," he insisted. "It's about the company. If I lose their support, we lose everything." But Mark saw through it. Ethan was ashamed, deep down, of their life together. The argument escalated. Words like coward and betrayer flew. By morning, Ethan had packed a bag and left, filing for divorce the next week, citing irreconcilable differences. In the settlement, Ethan walked away with his fortune intact, leaving Mark the brownstone they'd shared and primary custody of the triplets. But the real sting was the non-disclosure agreement Ethan forced him to sign, burying any mention of their marriage or the reasons for the split. "For the kids' sake," Ethan had said, his voice cold. Mark, devastated and broke. His career had stalled while raising the children. Agreed, vowing to protect their family from the media storm. He moved to a quieter life in Brooklyn, scraping by on freelance design work and child support checks that Ethan sent religiously but impersonally. Years passed, and the triplets grew into rambunctious 5-year-olds, full of questions about their other dad. Mark told them stories of the good times, shielding them from the pain. But inside, resentment festered. He watched from afar as Ethan rebranded himself, a confirmed bachelor in interviews, dating high-profile women to fuel rumors of heterosexuality. Hargrove Tech soared, valued at billions, while Ethan became a darling of conservative business circles, even donating to politicians who opposed LGBTQ rights. It was hypocrisy that gnawed at Mark. Ethan profiting from a lie while their children wondered why Daddy never visited. Then came the catalyst. In 2025, Ethan announced his engagement to Sophia Langford, heiress to a media empire, in a splashy People magazine spread. The article painted him as a reformed playboy finally settling down. Mark's blood boiled. That night, as the triplets slept, he dug through old emails and found the evidence he'd buried. Recordings of Ethan's confessions, documents showing how he'd manipulated the divorce to hide his sexuality. It was time to fight back. Mark hired a lawyer, a fierce advocate for LGBTQ families, and sued for full custody and to void the NDA. The media caught wind, and suddenly, their story was everywhere. Headlines screaming about the billionaire's secret gay past. Ethan's team painted Mark as a bitter ex seeking revenge, but Mark knew the truth would out. As he stood in that courtroom, ready to testify, he glanced at Ethan across the room. Their eyes met, a storm of regret and fury passing between them. This wasn't just about the kids anymore. It was about justice, about not letting shame win. The judge called the session to order, and Mark took the stand. His voice steady, he began, "Your Honor, Ethan Hargrove didn't just leave me. He erased our family to build his empire on lies." The room fell silent, hanging on every word. Ethan's face paled. He knew what was coming. Mark pulled out the first piece of evidence, an email from Ethan's advisor suggesting he distance himself from the homosexual narrative. Gasps echoed. This was only the beginning. As the trial unfolded over weeks, layers peeled back. Witnesses testified to Ethan's double life. Former employees who saw him delete photos of Mark and the kids from his office. Friends who recalled his paranoia about being outed in boardrooms. Mark's testimony was raw, recounting nights of isolation. The joy of fatherhood overshadowed by Ethan's growing detachment. "He loved us once," Mark said, tears in his eyes. But ambition twisted him. He chose power over truth. Ethan, under cross-examination, cracked. "I did what I had to," he admitted, voice breaking. "The world isn't ready for a gay CEO with a family. I protected us." But his words rang false. Protected whom? The triplets, now in therapy for abandonment issues, or his stock prices. Society weighed in. LGBTQ activists rallied for Mark, calling Ethan's actions internalized homophobia. Conservative pundits defended Ethan, arguing business demanded discretion. Online forums exploded with debates: was coming out a right or a risk? Mark became an unwilling symbol, his quiet life appended. Yet, amid the chaos, flickers of old love surfaced. Late one night, Ethan showed up at Mark's door, rain-soaked and desperate. "I never stopped loving you," he whispered. Mark's heart ached, but he shut the door. Love doesn't abandon. The media frenzy intensified as the trial dragged on, turning Mark's Brooklyn brownstone into a fortress against paparazzi. He shielded the triplets with blackout curtains and bedtime stories that avoided the news. But Lila, the most perceptive of the three, asked one evening, "Why is Daddy Ethan on TV saying mean things about you?" Mark knelt, hugging her tight. "Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes, sweetie. But we're okay." Ethan's defense team fought dirty, dredging up Mark's past. A brief college fling that ended badly, painting him as unstable. It was a low blow, igniting public sympathy for Mark. Social media hashtags like Justice for Mark trended, with influencers sharing stories of hidden queer lives in corporate America. Ethan's stock dipped 5%. Investors murmured about distractions. He fired his PR team, hiring crisis managers who spun him as a victim of a vindictive ex. But Mark had more ammunition. During discovery, his lawyer uncovered financial records showing Ethan had funneled money to anti-LGBTQ lobbying groups under anonymous donations. It's business networking, Ethan's accountant testified, but the judge's raised eyebrow said otherwise. Mark took the stand again, voice laced with quiet fury. "He built our family on love, then tore it down for profit. How can a man who held our son's claim to support equality while funding hate?" The revelation sparked outrage. Protests erupted outside Hargrove Tech's headquarters, rainbow flags waving against glass towers. Ethan's fiancée, Sophia, stood by him publicly, but rumors swirled of arguments behind closed doors. In a leaked audio, ironically, from Ethan's own security system, she confronted him. "You told me it was a phase, Ethan, a mistake. But triplets? A marriage? This changes everything." Ethan's response was muffled, but the pain in his voice was clear. "I thought I could bury it." Mark wrestled with guilt. Late nights, he'd stare at old photos. Ethan cradling newborn Max, the four of them at Central Park picnics. Was revenge worth destroying the man he'd loved? His therapist urged reflection. You're not just fighting for you, Mark. This is about every queer person forced into the shadows. Bolstered, Mark pressed on. A turning point came when Ethan's mother, Evelyn Hargrove, a stern widow from old money, took the stand as a character witness. She praised her son's upstanding life, but under cross-examination, she faltered. Did you know about his marriage to Mark? The lawyer asked. Evelyn's eyes darted to Ethan. I advised against it. Our family has standards. The courtroom murmured. Standards meaning heteronormative? Mark's heart twisted. He'd met Evelyn once, her disapproval palpable. Ethan's testimony followed, a masterclass in deflection. I love my children, he said, avoiding Mark's gaze. But Mark's instability threatened them. Lies, Mark thought, clenching his fists. When pressed on the donations, Ethan claimed ignorance. My team handles philanthropy, but emails proved otherwise. He'd approved them personally. As recess hit, Ethan cornered Mark in the hallway. Please, stop this, he begged, eyes red-rimmed. For the kids. Mark stepped back. You stopped being their father when you left. This is for them to know the truth. Ethan's shoulders slumped, a glimpse of the vulnerable man Mark once knew. The trial exposed broader societal rifts. Op-ed pieces debated. In a post-Obergefell world, was outing someone ever justified? LGBTQ elders shared tales of forced closets in the 80s, while millennials argued for authenticity at all costs. Mark received death threats from Ethan's supporters, but also letters of solidarity from hidden gays in corporate jobs. Meanwhile, the triplets struggled. Theo, the quiet one, started wetting the bed. Max acted out at kindergarten. Mark enrolled them in family counseling, where the therapist noted, they sense the anger. Healing starts with honesty. Mark nodded, but honesty cut both ways. What if the truth scarred them forever? Ethan's empire teetered. A major investor pulled out, citing ethical concerns. In a desperate move, he scheduled a press conference, flanked by Sophia. I've made mistakes, he admitted to cameras. But my past doesn't define me. I'm committed to my future. No mention of Mark or the kids, just vague regrets. Viewers saw through it. Polls showed public opinion shifting toward Mark. Back in court, Mark's closing argument hit hard. Ethan chose lies over love, profit over pride. But I choose truth, for our family, for our community. The judge adjourned for deliberation, leaving everyone in limbo. That night, Mark tucked the triplets in, reading their favorite book about two dads and their adventures. As they drifted off, he whispered, no matter what, we're together. But doubt crept in. Was he the hero or just as vengeful as Ethan accused? The verdict loomed, a powder keg ready to explode. Ethan's lawyers offered a settlement. Increased support, visitation rights, in exchange for silence. Mark stared at the papers, torn. Accept and preserve some peace. Refuse and risk everything. He crumpled the offer. This fight was bigger than them now. The judge's gavel echoed like a thunderclap as she delivered the verdict. The NDA was voided, and custody remained with Mark, with supervised visitation for Ethan. But the real win was the order for Ethan to publicly acknowledge the marriage and children, plus a hefty fine for the deceptive donations. The courtroom erupted. Cheers from Mark's supporters, boos from Ethan's camp. Mark exhaled, a weight lifting, but Ethan's glare burned with betrayal. Outside, reporters swarmed. Mr. Rivera, how does it feel to win? One shouted. Mark paused, choosing words carefully. This isn't about winning. It's about living authentically. For my kids. And for anyone hiding who they are. Flashbulbs popped as he walked away, the triplets waiting in a nearby car with their nanny. Ethan's world crumbled faster than anticipated. Hargrove Tech's board called an emergency meeting. Shares plummeted another 10%. Sophia broke off the engagement in a terse statement. Irreconcilable visions for the future. Tabloids feasted. Billionaire's fake fiancé flees gay scandal. Ethan retreated to his Hamptons estate, issuing no comments, but insiders whispered of breakdowns. bottles of scotch emptied alone. Mark tried to resume normalcy. He took the kids to the zoo, watching them laugh at the monkeys, but their questions persisted. "Will Daddy Ethan come live with us again?" Theo asked innocently. Mark's smile faltered. "Maybe someday, buddy. But we're happy now, right?" They nodded, but the void lingered. Support poured in, donations to Mark's new foundation for LGBTQ families, speaking invites from advocacy groups. He spoke at a rally in Washington Square Park, voice amplified, "Our stories matter. Hiding them lets hate win." Applause thundered, but exhaustion weighed on him. Fame was a double-edged sword. Strangers recognized him in grocery stores, some with hugs, others with sneers. Ethan reached out via lawyer, a request for a private meeting. Mark agreed, curiosity overriding caution. They met at a neutral cafe in Midtown, bodyguards discreetly nearby. Ethan looked haggard, his designer suit hanging loose. "You destroyed me," he said softly, no anger left. Mark leaned in. "You destroyed us first." "Why, Ethan? We had everything." Ethan stared into his coffee. "Fear. My father drilled it into me. Success means fitting in. When the board hinted at ousting me over image issues, I panicked. Leaving you was the hardest thing, but I thought it'd protect you from the fallout." "Protect me?" Mark scoffed. "By erasing our life? Funding groups that call us sinners?" Ethan winced. "I was wrong. Those donations, I thought they were just politics. But seeing the hurt—" "I'm sorry, Mark. Truly." Silence stretched. Mark saw remnants of the man he'd married. The spark in his eyes, the way his hand trembled. "The kids miss you," he admitted. "But trust is broken." Ethan nodded. "I know. Can I see them?" "Start slow." Mark hesitated. Forgiveness felt like weakness, but for the triplets' sake. One visit. Supervised. The reunion was tentative. Ethan at the brownstone, bearing gifts, stuffed animals for each child. Lila eyed him warily. Max hid behind Mark. Theo stared curiously. "Hi, kids," Ethan said, voice cracking. "I've missed you so much." Playtime was awkward at first, but laughter broke through as Ethan built block towers with them. Mark watched from the doorway, a pang in his chest. Was this redemption or another act? Society's debate raged on. Podcasts dissected the case. Is forced outing ethical? One host argued, in power positions, yes, hypocrisy harms the community. Another countered, personal lives should stay personal. Revenge isn't justice. Mark tuned it out, focusing on healing. But twists emerged. An anonymous whistleblower from Hargrove Tech leaked internal memos. Ethan had planned to phase out his queer identity years before the divorce, including therapy to reorient. The news hit like a bomb, vindicating Mark but deepening the wound. He tried to change himself? Mark murmured to his best friend, Jamie. "Instead of fighting for us?" Jamie hugged him. "Some people are their own worst enemies. You did right by exposing it." Ethan's ouster followed. The board voted him out, installing a new CEO. He sold shares, retreating from public life. Rumors of therapy surfaced, real this time for self-acceptance. Months later, Mark's life stabilized. His architecture firm boomed with pro bono work for LGBTQ centers. The triplets thrived, Ethan's visits becoming regular, though guarded. One evening, as Ethan left, he paused at the door. "I still love you, Mark, if there's any chance." Mark's heart raced, old flames stirring. "It's too late for us, but for the kids, we co-parent." Ethan nodded, eyes glistening. Fair enough. Yet, unresolved tensions simmered. At a family dinner, Mark's attempt at normalcy, Ethan confessed more. "I dated women before you, to hide. But you were real." The admission sparked arguments. The kids overheard, leading to tears. "Why can't daddies be together?" Lila cried. Mark soothed her, but inside, rage flared anew. Was Ethan's darkest secret not just the abandonment, but a lifetime of deception? As winter blanketed New York, the fallout from the trial evolved into a cultural reckoning. Books were written, closeted empires, The Hargrove Scandal. Documentaries streamed, interviewing Mark as the reluctant hero. He spoke candidly, "I didn't want this spotlight," but silence would have let the lie continue. Viewers empathized, ratings soared. Ethan, now a shadow of his former self, moved to a modest apartment in Chelsea. Ironic, given the neighborhood's queer history. He volunteered at LGBTQ shelters, a quiet atonement. Paparazzi caught him at pride events, rainbow pin on his lapel, but skeptics called it damage control. The triplets adapted unevenly. Max drew family pictures with two dads together. Theo asked endless questions about why daddy left. Lila, the protector, grew fiercely independent. Mark navigated it with therapy sessions for all, emphasizing, "Families come in all shapes. Ours is strong because we're honest." A new conflict arose when Ethan petitioned for joint custody. "I've changed," his filing read. "Therapy has helped me embrace my identity." Mark's lawyer advised fighting it. He's using reform as leverage. But Mark wavered, seeing Ethan's genuine efforts, like attending school plays incognito. They met at a mediator's office, tension thick. "I want to be their father fully," Ethan said. "Not a visitor." Mark crossed his arms. "And what about the pain you caused? The years they wondered why you vanished?" Ethan met his gaze. "I can't undo that, but I can make amends. Please, Mark, for them." The mediator suggested a trial period, shared weekends. Mark agreed reluctantly, monitoring closely. The first outing, ice skating at Rockefeller Center, was magical. Ethan steadying Theo, laughing with Lila. Mark snapped photos, a bittersweet ache blooming. Was this family again, or illusion? Society watched, opinions divided. Online polls asked, should Mark forgive Ethan? 52% said yes, redemption arc sell. But queer activists warned, forgiveness shouldn't erase accountability. Personal stakes heightened when Mark started dating again. He met Jordan, a kind teacher, at a parent-teacher conference. Their first date was coffee, easy conversation flowing. "You're brave," Jordan said. "Inspiring." Mark blushed, feeling seen. But Ethan heard through mutual friends, jealousy flaring. During a drop-off, he confronted Mark. "Moving on already?" "With him." Mark's eyes narrowed. "You have no right. You left." Ethan deflated. "I know, but seeing you happy, it hurts, because I lost that." The exchange lingered, stirring confusion in Mark. Late nights, he'd replay memories. Their honeymoon in Hawaii, Ethan's whispers of forever. Did embers remain? The custody hearing approached, evidence mounting. Ethan's therapist testified. He's confronted his internalized homophobia, committed to authenticity. Mark's side countered with psychologists noting the kid's attachment issues. Sudden changes could re-traumatize, one said. On the stand, Mark spoke from the heart. Ethan's growth is real, but trust rebuilds slowly. For now, stability matters most. Ethan followed, vulnerable. "I was wrong to hide, to leave, but I'm here now, ready to fight for our family." The judge granted partial joint custody, a compromise. Cheers from Ethan's side. Mark felt a mix of relief and loss. Control slipping, but perhaps healing beginning. Post-hearing, Ethan pulled Mark aside. "Thank you. This means everything." Mark nodded. "Don't mess it up." As months passed, co-parenting smoothed. Shared holidays. Thanksgiving at Mark's, Christmas at Ethan's. The kids beamed, two homes feeling like one. Yet, undercurrents stirred controversy. A tell-all book from Ethan's ex-assistant claimed he had affairs during the marriage, discreet with men, to cope with repression. True or not, it reignited media firestorms. Mark confronted Ethan. "More lies." Ethan swore innocence. "Fabrications for profit. I was faithful." Mark wanted to believe, but doubt seeded. Jordan, sensing the turmoil, offered support. "You deserve peace." Their relationship deepened, but Ethan's presence loomed. At a school event, the two men, Mark with Jordan, Ethan alone, faced off awkwardly. Lila tugged Ethan's hand. "Meet Daddy's friend." Tension crackled, unspoken rivalries. Society debated anew. Polyfamily structures? Forgiveness in queer relationships? Articles probed. Can exes co-parent without drama? Mark pondered, emotions swirling. Love's remnants clashed with fresh starts. One evening, Ethan called. We need to talk. About us. Mark's pulse quickened. There is no us. But deep down, questions lingered. Was reconciliation possible or folly? Spring brought renewal, but for Mark it carried storms. The assistant's book topped bestseller lists, alleging Ethan's hidden flings as cries for help in a closeted life. Ethan sued for defamation, but damage lingered. Investors shunned him. His new consulting firm struggled. Karma, some said. Others pitied the fall. Mark distanced himself, focusing on Jordan. Their dates evolved. Picnics in Prospect Park, movie nights with the kids. Jordan's patience shone. I'm here for the long haul. Mark opened up, sharing scars. Ethan broke me, but you heal. The triplets warmed to Jordan, calling him Uncle Jay. But Ethan noticed during pickups his smiles forced. He's good with them, Ethan admitted once. Better than I was. Mark raised an eyebrow. Jealous. Ethan sighed. Regretful. Custody thrived. Ethan coached Max's soccer, attended Lila's recitals. Therapy sessions bonded them. The kids' resilience amazed. You're both our dads, Theo said one day, melting barriers. Yet societal pressures mounted. A conservative group petitioned to review the custody, claiming unstable queer environment harmful. Mark fought back in court, rallying allies. This is discrimination, his lawyer argued. The judge dismissed it, but the scare unified Mark and Ethan. In victory's aftermath, they shared a drink. First in years. We make a good team, Ethan said. Mark clinked glasses. For the kids. Sparks flew subtly. Lingering glances, accidental touches. Jordan sensed it, confronting Mark. Do you still love him? Mark faltered. Part of me always will. But I'm with you. Jordan nodded sadly. I deserve all of you. They parted amicably, Mark's heart heavy. Alone, he reflected. Ethan's growth was evident. Public apologies in interviews, donations to LGBTQ causes. I was a coward, Ethan told Oprah. But I'm owning it now. The turning point. A family vacation to Disney World, co-planned. Laughter echoed on rides. Evenings, the adults talked deep into nights. I miss this, Ethan confessed under fireworks. Us. Mark's walls cracked. Me too. But can we rebuild? Ethan took his hand. Let's try. They returned changed, dating secretly, dinners, walks. The kids noticed excitement bubbling. Are you boyfriends again? Max asked. Mark smiled. We're figuring it out. But controversy brewed. When news leaked, Billionaire reunites with ex. Backlash hit. LGBTQ voices split. Toxic. Forgiving abandonment sets bad precedent. Others cheered. Love wins. Even messy. Ethan proposed therapy together. Mark agreed. Sessions unearthed pain. Ethan's childhood rejection. Mark's abandonment fears. I left to protect you from my mess, Ethan said. But you made the mess bigger, Mark replied. Healing progressed slowly, trust rebuilding brick by brick. A year later, they remarried quietly, vowing authenticity. The triplets as ring-bearers, joy overflowing. Hargrove Tech, under new leadership, thrived without Ethan, who found purpose in advocacy. Yet, shadows remained. At a gala, an old investor sneered. Back to your true self, huh? Ethan stood tall. Always was. Mark beamed proudly. Their story inspired debates. Redemption real or rushed? Families mended or illusions? In quiet moments, Mark wondered if exposing the secret was worth the chaos. But seeing his family whole, he knew, truth, however painful, sets free. Was Mark justified in unveiling Ethan's secrets? Or should personal betrayals remain private to protect the innocent?